Hello, it's Phil Thatch, and I'm here at the Chattanooga School for the Arts and Sciences, which has a really dark gymnasium, and I'm going to do some basketball photography using the Canon R6, and I have the 50mm 1.8, and I also brought the 24 to 70 2.8. Okay, I brought the 50mm f1.8 with me, but I ended up shooting the entire basketball game, actually two entire basketball games, with the RF 24 to 70 f2.8 L IS USM lens. And typically f2.8 is not bright enough. It's not a wide enough aperture for this gymnasium. But I just went ahead and shot everything at ISO 6400. I shot manual, and every picture in this set is 1/1000th, f2.8, and 6400 ISO. The only setting that will change is the millimeters from where I zoomed. So also I was really happy with automatic white balance on the Canon R6. A lot of times in the past I've shot in this gymnasium with some of my Nikon cameras, and I've had to cool the photographs off a whole lot to get them to look good. And I did have to cool the pictures down a little bit with the Canon, but only like 50 instead of 1,000. So I thought that was really good, the white balance. It actually, in these pictures, it looks a little bit cooler than maybe it actually was at the gym, but it just looks better like this. So anyway, here are the girls being introduced and running through the cheerleaders. That turned out pretty cool. A couple of 70mm shots I made as the girls were coming in. And then here is the tip-off, another 70mm shot. I tried to get as low as I could. I was either sitting on the first row of the bleachers, or sometimes I was sitting with my legs crossed on the gym floor, and that gave me a nice angle on the players. Now, I would have liked to have used the eye detect autofocus, and in a situation like this photograph right here, that worked just fine. But when things got really crowded under the basket, eye detect would usually land on the wrong player, or a player closer to me than the one that I was actually focusing on. So I have two buttons programmed on my R6, and one of them is eye detect, and the other one is just single point. And I put that single point not directly in the middle, but a couple of clicks up from the middle, and that's what I used in most situations. I would just point it at put that single point on the player that I was paying attention to the most, and make my shots. Now, in a situation like this, where it's just one player and nobody closer to me than the player that I really want to focus on, the eye detect would work flawlessly. But if there were too many players and some of them were closer than the subject, then eye detect didn't work nearly as well. And I spent a lot of time at 70mm. Almost wish that there was a 24 to 120 f2.8. That would be an awesome lens for basketball in a poorly lit gymnasium like this. But I had a great time photographing the girls as they were playing. And look at this shot. This is a 33mm shot. I was on the floor, and this young lady right here, her mom actually is the one who asked me to come to the game and make photos. So I made sure to get a lot of photos of her as they were playing. And there is some noise in these 6400 ISO shots. I ran these all through Topaz Denoise AI on its default automatic settings. And it was fun to make these pictures. In this gym, the lights are terrible, but I managed to make it look like there are bright lights in this gymnasium just by boosting. Even though I'm at 6400 ISO, I still boosted the exposure in post on all of these a little bit. Really, the only thing I did to these was crop them, straighten them, boost the exposure a little bit, reduce the highlights, and then bump the contrast a little bit, and then run them through Topaz Denoise AI. That's all the editing that these photos got, and it turned out really nice. Actually, I also cooled them off by about 50, but that's it. Here it's time for the boys' game, which was a lot of fun to photograph. They were awesome. It was a really competitive game, really close all the way down to the wire, and the boys jump higher, so that was fun to photograph. Lots of jumping involved in the boys' game. And, the single point autofocus, just put it on the player that's shooting, press the button, and the camera would nail it every time. Really competitive game. This game was close down to the last few seconds. Here's the coaches meeting with the team during a timeout. Lots of layups and jump shots and all that sort of thing, and free throws. This is my favorite shot of the whole game. I've got both teams huddling with only 35 seconds left as there's a timeout going on. And here is the last photo. So, basketball with the Canon R6 and the RF 24-70 f2.8 L IS USM. Thanks a bunch for watching. Have a great day. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.